Hi students, let's talk a little bit about Chapter 2, Strategic Market Planning, Take the Big Picture. And there are lots of really important topics in Chapter 2, so I would spend a lot of time studying and reading this chapter. I'm just going to take a few minutes to highlight some key points I want you to pay attention to. The main focus of this chapter is about planning for the firm, and that's really important given that although we tend to think of firms as being, having lots of money and having all of these resources, they really have to focus their efforts if they want to maximize shareholder value. So one of the first things we do is engage in strategic planning from the top level. And one of the results of that planning is the mission statement. And so the chapter talks about the mission statement, and we see those as customers and as employees, and they're usually these wonderful floral statements about how we're going to strive to do the best job that we can and service our customers in the best possible way. But if you look more closely at mission statements, good mission statements actually kind of give managers some focus, if you will, and help them to make decisions on what types of customers we're going to serve, what markets we're going to focus, where we're going to focus our attention, because there are so many things that firms could do, and so we need to focus our efforts, and we have a lot of people trying to make decisions. So that's what good mission statements really do. As we move from the mission statement, another important concept from this chapter is the SWOT analysis, and this is really where firms begin to assess their environment, what they're good at, what they're weak at, and then kind of what opportunities or threats are present in their environment. The better job a firm does at this, again, the better they can focus their efforts on customers or on new market opportunities. So some key things to remember about the SWOT is that strengths and weaknesses are internal to the firm, meaning these are things that they actually have control over and that they can change. Think about them like you would your own personality traits. There are certain things that you're strong at. Maybe you're stronger in math or you're stronger in English, and that's natural. And then there are weaknesses. So there are areas that you kind of want to limit your involvement in because you know you're not good at them. Well, firms are the same way, right? Then on the flip side, there are external things that are happening that although we can't control them, we need to pay attention and we need to take that as a factor in our decision making. And those are opportunities and threats in the environment. So for a firm, this might be trends that are happening. For example, customers are on a health trend. That might be something a firm might want to pay attention to. That might be another opportunity. Or it could be a threat. The recession would be a threat, something that I can't create products and act like I don't know that the economy is in a recession, because if I do, I'm certainly going to get left behind in terms of making the best products that attract more customers. Okay, so those are things to think about. Some other concepts in this chapter that are key would be the BCG matrix, and it talks about kind of classifying products based on the amount of resources that they take and how much that they bring in. And so you'll see that they have stars, cash cows, question marks, and dogs. And so stars are products that we have that are really wonderful. Customers are totally responding to them, and we have a huge market share. An example might be the Apple iPod. Apple presently, I believe, has about 70% of that market. It's a high growth market, so everyone in the world who could have an iPod doesn't have one yet. So there's lots of room for growth in that area, and we're the #1 producers of that product, so that would be a star. Under a cash cow, we have probably the #1 or #2 product in a market that is no longer really growing. Right, but that means there's still a lot of money to be made in terms of replacement products and this kind of thing. That would be a star. Maybe if you had a really good market share, let's say in television, that market isn't really growing massively, but there's still a lot of money to be made. So these are also products that firms might not focus a lot of attention on, but they're getting a lot of money from the sale of those products. And then there's question marks. We have a low market share here, but it's a high growth area. So the question is, should I put more money into it? Would that help it if I put more advertising and this kind of thing? Or do I have a really bad product and I just don't need to be involved in this market because it doesn't capitalize on what I'm really good at? That's something for firms to think about. And then the final category is dogs, and that is a category that customers don't want it, and it's not growing. This would be like VCRs. I mean, you can make VCRs all day long, but you know what? They're not coming back. So that would be a dog category. Right? And a final thing to look at in this chapter is what we call the product market growth matrix. And again, these are strategies that firms use in terms of looking at risk. All right? And so we have a market penetration strategy, and that's where we try to sell existing products to existing customers. And so what does that mean? It means we're selling the same old product to the same old people. Right? There's no risk really there. Right? I have some knowledge, and the customers know me. So if I'm Coca-Cola, for example, a market penetration strategy would be trying to get customers who already drink Coke to drink more Coke, right? So we put out more commercials and, oh my God, it's so wonderful, drink more. That's not very hard to do, right? Under another strategy would be I'm trying to get new customers who don't typically drink Coke to try it. Right, so it's the same product, but new customers, right? So it's a little bit of a risk. I'm not exactly sure how to service these customers. It's going to take, there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. So these are the ways to kind of look at that. It's very important, right? So in the 80s, Coke tried this, where they tried to get people who drank coffee to drink Coke in the morning, and to tell everybody that it's okay to drink Coke in the morning. It's very much like drinking coffee, right? On another product development strategy, it was I'm going to create a new product, right, to sell to my existing customers. Coke Black would have been an example of that. If you've tried it, I don't know how good it is. I think it's awful. All right, but the idea is I'm going to try to get you to drink a new product. You like Coke already, let's try it with a little twist. And so Coke does that a lot because they've got lemon Coke and, you know, black cherry and all of this kind of things, to get existing customers to try something different. And then finally, the part of the matrix that requires kind of the most risk for a company is diversification. I'm going to sell a new product that I don't have a lot of experience in to a new batch of customers who I don't have experience selling to. Right? That is the most risky area. And so occasionally firms will try that. They'll try to take the strength of their brand to introduce new products. It doesn't always work. It's definitely a dangerous strategy at best. So please take some time to look at these topics in detail, because they are critically important to this chapter. And some of them, for like the SWOT, you'll be using as you work on your group project. And I look forward to speaking with you again soon.